questions of power. Let no more be said of confidence in man, but bind him down from his mischief with the chains of the Constitution. I use that one everywhere I go because that's exactly what it's supposed to be. That Constitution, the preamble, it says, "We the people of the United States of America do establish and ordain the Constitution for the United States of America." That document is a contract by us to protect us from our federal government. That's exactly what it's for. But that Constitution, that chain, is only going to be as strong as we let it be. That Constitution needs a voice, and it's not coming from the Democrats and Republicans so much as we'd like it to. Because when politicians, especially the ones that have been in there for a long time, once they begin drawing attention to the Constitution, they're not going to do it because then they're drawing attention to the rules that they've been breaking. So if we're going to give the Constitution a voice, it's got to come from us. And we all need to be like that reporter that questioned Nancy Pelosi and said, "Can you please point to your authority in the United States Constitution that gives you the right to do this to the American people?" We all need to do that. Because it's all coming down to November. It's all coming down to November. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is the fight. I hear all the time, we got to get the boots on the ground, boots on the ground. This is a battlefield, folks. It's called what it is. We got to get the boots on the battlefield. There's a war on for your personal liberty. Make no mistake about it. It's all about November. Got to go to work. Got to go to work. Time's drawing down. Candidates are starting to get ramped up. Tea Party movements are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I can say that with full confidence just because the amount of people that raised their hands are saying they were here for the first time today. That Constitution is there to protect our freedom from our government. So we got to make sure that we get the right kind of servants in there. The servants that understand it. Not the same crowd that votes themselves pay raises and plays willy-nilly with our troops, gives them body armor, while they give themselves more money. There's something fundamentally wrong with that. But this November, it needs to stop. Thomas Paine once said that the duty of a patriot is to protect his country from its government. That Constitution is there to help us do that. That is the supreme law of the land. So whenever let me tell you what Thomas Jefferson said in the Kentucky resolutions. He said, "Whensoever the general government assumes undelegated power, its acts are unauthoritative, void, and of no force." We have the law on our side. We have the law of the land, the Constitution, and we have the supreme law of the universe, as John Adams once said, God Almighty on our side, because it is His will for people to be free. I love my country, and I know we all love our country. So let our love for our country motivate us to do more. Have the tea parties, have rallies, have meetup groups on our neighborhood, invite our neighbors, pass out flyers, do whatever we got to do, because this is it. It's about to get heavy. And they're not going to stop. They are not going to stop. And come November, we're either going to have regrets or we're not. I got one more quote and I'm going to get off because I'm really thirsty. Oh yeah, hey, I'm good. As a United States Marine, I think I said this last time I was here. And so, if I feel like I'm beating a dead horse because I keep talking about the Constitution, sorry, that's just where my duty lies. But in 1999, when I joined the Marines, I stood on some yellow footprints in the Federal Building in St. Louis, and I said, "I, Paul Curtmann, do solemnly swear to uphold, support, and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic." So whenever we all know who the foreign enemies are. We know who they are. They wear uniforms, they blow themselves up, try to take as many of us with them. But whenever anybody works to subvert our Constitution, whenever anybody works to undermine our Constitution, this is just me personally. I can only assume, I can only draw the conclusion that they've crossed the line and they are now in the camp of a domestic enemy of my Constitution. And it's their us. It's there for us. This is a battle. This is a battle. Our troops shouldn't be going overseas and fighting wars if our government's not going to be accountable for their actions and play politics with them. While our troops are going overseas and they're getting in gunfights, and our Congress votes themselves a pay raise, and they take recesses, and they work to undermine the principles of liberty, take away our money, take away our freedom, erase the borders of the state so that way there's no state accountability, well then they're working against the Constitution.
Right.
And that puts them in a different camp than me.
Right.
Thomas Paine said this also. When Thomas Paine first came to America, and after this I am done. When Thomas Paine first came to America, let me say this first. I wrote a little book called Don't Tread on Me. If anybody wants one, they're over there. Some of this stuff is in here. But when Thomas Paine first came to America, he said this. He said, when my country into which I had just set my foot was set on fire about my ears, it was time to stir. It was time for every man to stir. And just because everybody's here right now, I know that my country is being set on fire about my ears. Do you feel the burn? Do you feel it? It's time to stir. It's time to stir like we have never stirred before, because it's all coming down to the crux of the matter. Whether or not we're willing to submit and give our sovereignty, our individual rights away, or whether or not we're willing to fight for them. Patrick Henry one time said this. He said, "Give me liberty or give me death." What Patrick Henry is telling us, Patrick Henry's saying, look, there's no alternative. You're either free or you're dead. The only alternative to that is slavery.
Right.
You are only free as long as you exercise your freedom. Those men and women around the world that died fighting for their freedom did, in fact, die free. So the time's coming. Are we willing to go to work? Motivated, educated, boots in the battlefield, fighting for what is inherently ours? Are we going to let our government take it away from us, little by little? James Madison one time said that there are more usurpations of the freedom of a people subtly than by violently. We don't see the violence, but I tell you what, my father's a pastor. He's in this crowd today, and because of this hate crimes legislation, he just may very well have some sermons on the internet that could put him in jail, and that was done pretty subtly. Freedom of speech is being taken away.
Right.
When my country into which I had just set my foot was set on fire about my ears, it was time to stir. It was time for every man to stir. And right now we need to be stirring, rallying, and recalling ourselves to the principles of the Constitution. Thomas Jefferson also said this. Thomas Jefferson one time said, our Constitution is constructed and calculated in a way to which the watchful eye may once again rally and recall people. It's not the time to rally and recall to the political parties. It's time to rally and recall to the Constitution. That's where my freedom is protected. That's where my duty and my allegiance lies. There's a congressman in Texas, and he one time said this, a Democrat from a long time ago. He said, "I prefer the man who will burn the flag and wrap himself in the Constitution than a man who will burn the Constitution and then wrap himself in the flag." Folks, it's all about the Constitution. And come November, if you're with me, we will go to the polls and once again inject a devastating dose of American venom right back into the bloodstream of this government that's working to strangle us out of our freedom. Freedom favors the brave. Freedom favors the brave. My name's Paul Curtmann. Thank you.